capitalist system confronts society with problems that capitalism cannot solve, such as mass inequality, climate change, and war. Billionaires continue to get richer, while working people sink into poverty. For decades, the US government has used its military power to force the world to bend to its will, starting wars to open up new markets, extract natural resources, and punish any resistance to capitalist domination.
At home, police have been militarized, prison populations have swelled, and the National Guard and ICE stormtroopers roam the American streets terrorizing working people. For the sake of the people and the planet, we need a new system. We need a new society. What may have once seemed impossible is now an imperative necessity. We need a socialist reconstruction of the United States.
The US is the wealthiest country in the world. Its gross national product is $12 trillion, yet 45 million people in the United States live without health insurance. Nearly 34 million people suffer from food insecurity or outright hunger. Over 3 million people experience homelessness each year, 39% of them children.
1 out of every 5 children is born into poverty. That number soars to 1 out of 2 children for the African American community. There is an alternative. Socialism is a system where the working class holds political power, and the economy is planned to meet the needs of the people and the planet. But before we talk about the socialist future, we must first understand how we got to where we are today.
There are 2 kinds of revolutions: political revolutions and social revolutions. In political revolutions, governmental power is transferred from one group to another, meaning one ruling class can take control from another ruling class without changing the fundamental relations of society. Social revolutions are more profound. In a social revolution, the fundamental class structure of society is changed.
The Haitian Revolution in 1791, in which they defeated France, became independent of the French Empire, and abolished slavery, is an example of a social revolution. The American Revolution was a political revolution. Enslaved people who were the most important part of the working class in 1776 were still enslaved when the Revolutionary War ended in 1783.
Plantation owners retained control over their lands and their enslaved workforces. In fact, some historians have argued that the American Revolution was waged specifically to keep chattel slavery alive and well in the American colonies.
The American Civil War was more like a real revolution, a social revolution. During the Civil War, hundreds of thousands of enslaved African Americans engaged in a wave of radical self-emancipation, fleeing plantations across the South. This pressured the government to formally end chattel slavery in the United States.
The Reconstruction era that followed the Civil War was an attempt to complete the social revolution, but it was ultimately defeated by the wealthy capitalist and political establishment. This failure led to the Jim Crow era of legal apartheid.
During the Civil Rights era in the 1950s and 60s, there was a second period of radical reconstruction. Black working class people across the American South and beyond led a grassroots movement for equal rights and black liberation.
The Jim Crow police state was demolished and African Americans won full legal equality. However, the fundamental class structures of American society were left unchanged, and working people still lacked political power. It was not long before the wealthy ruling class quelled this popular uprising and ushered in a new mass incarceration system. Once again, Black Americans found themselves under the boot of capital, as modern slavery took shape in the form of mass imprisonment of Black men and forced prison labor.
The third reconstruction of the United States will be a true social revolution, with the working class majority taking political power and planning the economy to meet the needs of people and the planet, instead of generating profit for billionaires. Only a socialist reconstruction will solve the problems created by capitalism, ending production for the sake of profit and replacing it with production based on meeting the needs of the American people and our environment.
As has been in the past, the Black liberation movement will be a major deciding factor of this future socialist reconstruction of the US. Central to the success of the socialist revolution will be overcoming the centuries of super-exploitation and oppression of the Black working class. The immense fortunes of capitalist banks and corporations were built upon the labor of enslaved African Americans. As working people, we must unite along class lines and overcome racism and all forms of bigotry that keep the working class divided. We must fight for reparations now to address the previous and ongoing harms of slavery and structural racism. But we must also struggle together to achieve the social revolution that is necessary for ending race-based oppression for good.
Revolutions don't just happen because injustice exists. Working people have to make them happen. We must get organized to defeat the billionaire agenda and end our oppression at the hands of the wealthy elite and the US political establishment. The future is socialist. We must end capitalism before it ends us.